Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a beautiful sunny Saturday morning, 2 days after Thanksgiving 2025. It's beautiful, sunny, a little bit chilly and windy, but hey, that's okay. Tomorrow, they're talking a little bit of snow. We'll see. No big deal. It's always a big deal this time of year. Come the end of the season, it's going to snow a foot. Nobody even blinks. So, under the 31 Model A Ford Tudor, 496 big block Chevy, turbo 400, 9-inch Ford 370 gear. Should be pretty exciting. I slid the motor and transmission in it yesterday and went pretty smooth. I seldom do one piece, but this particular deal, we'll start back here. The video I did the other day explaining this dilemma where you can't remove the transmission cross member yet. You probably didn't see these. This was a continuous piece of roll cage tubing, cross member, interrupted. This used to be welded on the front of it for a TH400, I assume, and whatever else. The way this car fits together, the mount had to move back. So this was added, the square stock, and you could see that in the other video. If it only had the piece of square stock, you could easily make that removable. And now that I look at it, I could sever that cross member there. It has support from there. It's possible to make a bolt-in piece for there. It could be done. However, sliding in one piece, not the end of the world. So I'm at the point to start hooking stuff up. What better time to talk about things we always talk about in the Turbo 400 world or transmission world is, let's start with the converter pull-out. That's how much the converter goes ahead when you put the bolts in. You don't want it shoved all the way in. Right now, the converter's shoved all the way into the transmission. Transmission's bolted up to the engine, and it will free spin right now, but we're absolutely all the way back. This would be all the way forward. We need to measure that gap. Easiest way is a drill bit. This is an 1/8-inch drill bit. It goes right in. It'll stay there. If you don't happen to have a drill bit, and you got a feeler gauge, same deal. You can just stack them up, measure the gap, get in there. Like that. We are at the minimum. 125 thousandths, which is 1/8 of an inch, is the absolute minimum. This is a Jegs XHD. I don't remember what stall he bought, but should be exciting. The way it's made, this is a SFI standard big block Chevy, small block Chevy flex plate. We're at the minimum. 3/16 would be the maximum, 187 thousandths. So good to know we're at the minimum, but we have the pullout. There goes my drill bit, gone forever. And this converter takes 7/16 bolts, which is strong. So I will bolt all those up, got locking nuts on it. That's great. Me being me, though, I know if I rotate this with my flywheel turner, I'm going to have oil coming out of the cooler output off the transmission right over my head. Right now I got them capped. Excuse me, nothing's leaking. I think I'll just make my cooler lines first and then revisit bolting up the torque converter. I moved the shifter on the floor yesterday ahead, so I got more leg room. That should not affect the adjustment, but when I went to put it in, it was not perfect. So I go ahead and adjust these. I got it pretty tight now because I've been playing with it. But it wants to be butter right in and out of the hole. I'm in neutral on here, neutral on the shifter. Ultimately, you check that in every position, but I'm pretty sure if I just put it in neutral, which is probably what the instructions would tell you, it's going to be pretty close. If you noticed in the pictures, when I had this on the lift cart, bolting it up to the back of the engine, this was the lime green transmission with a bat I painted on it. I was goofing around. I built this transmission for myself. The case that I used, if you remember one day, I was wicked mad at myself 3 or 4 years ago because I had a thread chaser on my drill and I was doing the pan bolts. The two front, if you go too far in with the thread chaser, I broke off a piece of the pump opening. And I was mad. And I stopped for the day. All the other parts were clean, ready to put together. This is a heck of a transmission. Got all the good stuff, you know, for 800 to 1,000 horsepower. Recipe we talk about. And there it's set till one day at lunchtime, I'm looking at it. I went and got a pump with no O-ring, set it in there, and the O-ring is deeper than the little piece of aluminum I broke off. I put it together. You know what happened? Nothing. It's never leaked. That piece of aluminum is window dressing, and all my frustration was for naught, other than I know every time I run a thread chaser through to check on the other side. I just got lackadaisical that day, I guess, so it worked out. And now I have the transmission back again. It has a stock pan. This is my favorite place to put a drain plug in one of these. All I do is buy a bunch of half-inch ID nylon washers. I want them absolutely half-inch, like I got to thread them onto the thread of the bolt. That's nothing but a half-inch fine thread bolt. You can use coarse if you want, but I had fine. The fine thread nut on the inside is nothing but a non-plated. You can grind the plating off if you have to, but I just MIG welded the nut on the inside of the pan all the way around. Shine up the outside, because sometimes the welding, you know, makes little pock marks on the outside where the penetration came through. Put the nylon washer on the bolt, tighten her up, doesn't leak. It lets you drain it. So when I went to pick up the Model A last week, he was keeping the engine. I thought the transmission might be in it. And I'd forgotten I have a metal piece that bolts on the front of the transmission that goes around the pilot of the torque converter. You bolt it on the bell housing bolts. It's a GM piece, came in a GM crate transmission. And it supports the converter, because I don't want to drive down the road with the converter bouncing on the bushing and the seal, or have it fall out when I hit the brakes. So a lot of things happen when you're trailering. So, but he had it all drained. So piece of cake. I pulled the converter out. It set in my Suburban all the way home and didn't fill the back of my truck full of oil. Imagine that. Most of the transmissions that get dropped off here are belching oil everywhere. Temporarily anyway, I put the fuse in, the 2-inch drive shaft. It would probably be okay. I'm just going to be putting around most of the time, but I find that the shaft is a little bit short. The yoke pullout is a little more than I would normally like. The rear end's hanging down. I don't know if it's going to get better or worse when it goes up, or it may not change at all. And I'm not going to just arbitrarily go build another shaft this length anyway, because this is a NASCAR yoke. It's cast, but it's a nice Spicer 1350. If you really got high horsepower and big slicks, you want a billet yoke on both ends. But in this case, this is more than sufficient to replace this one, but it ends up being about a ½ inch shorter when you get it in there, being the drive shaft's already short, and it's the wrong U-joint. But I will wait until I decide, whenever that is. I may do it before the engine even runs. I may do it 2 years from now. Whenever that is, I was pleasantly surprised. This is a PEM differential. They sell lots of rear end housings, and third members have got their name cast right into it, PEM. They're all over eBay and stuff. They're good quality, which is good, and it's not a Speedway, it's a PEM. So maybe the housing is too. I could ask my buddy. So I'll have to look up what they use for differentials. I'm sure it has a clutch type differential. That's all fine. But I know I've changed them before. They use a pinion spacer instead of the crush collar, so I can just whip that yoke off, probably not even change the seal, put a new, different yoke in, tighten the nut back up, maybe a new nut. We'll see how it comes off, how hard it comes off. And it ends up being a really easy project. I've only used my homemade sling one other time since we built it on the channel here a couple years ago. It just has axle straps that bolt into the exhaust manifolds. I modified them so they got a bolt hole. When you put it on an engine, you can go right over the manifold and everything because you got all this room. So I didn't have to touch the throttle bodies or anything, or the caps I have on them. It clears everything. When I picked it up with the transmission on the back, I was pleasantly surprised. It only angled the back down just enough to make it helpful. So I'm under the gantry crane. I was able to just roll the car up close, put it at about the right height, just grabbed the front tire, rolled the car ahead while I'm letting the engine down, and that angle slid right in over that welded cross member, and I was able to get the front motor mount bolts in, and then just disconnect everything, put it on the lift, and finish the installation of both the motor mount bolts and the transmission cross member bolts in one shot. And now the fun part is sorting through the existing wiring, which there isn't a whole lot. It has gauges in the dash, and I have the correct senders, etc. The problem with buying a set of race type cylinder heads and a race type manifold, there's not as many coolant ports as you hope for. The one in the manifold, I have my Holley coolant temperature sensor in, but the water pump still has 2 holes available that I think I'll be able to get my probe in for the gauge on the dash. It'd just be nice if it worked. This car actually has a GPS speedometer, which is cool. It has a backup camera, which is a good thing because you can't see much looking backwards. And your normal oil, voltage, and water. So I'd like to have all that working. I think it has voltage. I'll have to double check that. Also has boost and carbureted fuel pressure right here. So I think I'm just going to charge forward. I mean, I have everything here set up for the Holley EFI. I'd be a fool to take it off. I was excited a year ago when I put it on. Just going to continue forward. If you remember, I also have a black set of these that I could use on the 47 Ford, so that's okay. A few challenges is, again, I think the wiring's going to be a little short. I got to have a big enough hole to get all that through the firewall and find a place to mount the ECU. It's what it's all about, right? So currently has a cable throttle. I don't know if I'm going to use that, make a bracket for that. It's a nice looking cable, or whether I'm going to put a rod on it. We'll see. The laugh, if you will, one of the biggest drawbacks I've found is a 4150 style carburetor, 4160. They got a 5 1/8 air cleaner opening. These are 7 1/8, so either 7" or 7 1/8, the 4500 only. You think you could buy just a small air filter for this for cheap money like you can for a regular Holley carburetor or regular carburetor? Yeah, I could buy a pair of those for $20, $30. A pair of these, I did find a K&N filter that I'm going to measure, but I think will fit. They're like $160 a piece. It's as cheap as I can find them. But that's one option. I like the 2 air cleaner look. I have a blower scoop I could use. You will never, ever find me with one with fake butterflies. I don't like fake stuff. Those are good for wheel chocks, or maybe doing a video cutting it in half. Maybe cut the fake throttle bodies off it. You see a lot of, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but there's a bunch of pro street cars. They all in a group. I see them all the time. Wicked cool cars, but they'll have either a pair of throttle bodies or a pair of 4500 carburetors or a pair of regular Holley carburetors on it. And then they'll have this big fake looking scoop that's about this high. It's higher than the roof, and it's fake. I don't get it. If it was a real injector hat with fuel injection, hell yeah. Put that on there. Looking at the radiator, I got distracted for a second. These are spread, these stainless rods that help support the radiator staves, they call them. Factory would be here. These are spread out because it had a blower motor on it. And I'm going to leave it like that because I don't think they would clear my throttle bodies anyway. So stuff like that you hardly notice until you walk up on it. And I'm going to continue charging forward. Sorry, yesterday I didn't take any pictures or shoot any footage. Had the door open. It was cold and windy. I just wanted to get the motor slid in there and get the door shut. So enjoy your weekend. We're still on Thanksgiving break here, and I'll talk to you soon. I probably got to come shut the camera off. Well, let's find out.